Here.
Here.
John Benson.
On the phone.
Bob Van Wolfrat. Denise Pavlik.
Bob on the phone. Sorry.
Bob Van Wolfrat, you're on the phone.
Yes, thank you.
Denise Pavlik.
Present on the phone.
Andy Buffington.
Present.
Ellen Hagan.
Present.
Deb Krebel. David Ness.
Here.
Jason Leonard. Rob Rotter.
Here on the phone.
Mike Casper.
Here.
Carol Lund Smith.
On the phone.
Larry Smith.
Here.
Linda Frederickson. Kelly Grosskirth. We got it.
Thank you.
Patrick Updike's on the phone.
Okay, welcome everyone. Try to get this meeting as fast as I can. I'm not promising anything, but there's a lot of stuff on the agenda, but we'll get through it as quick as we can. Is there approval for today's agenda?
So moved, Andy Buffington.
Okay.
Second, Ellen
Second,
Pagan.
Ellen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Looking for the approval of meeting minutes from June 8th.
Larry Smith moves.
Larry?
I'll second that.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. SWIC report.
Thank you, Tom. I want to start off with, again, thanking the Isicsb for bringing me on board. I'm looking forward to all the things that we're going to accomplish in the next several months. I would like to start off with a comment about the meeting that we had last month, and that it presented us a lot of unique challenges, along with absences by Chair Lampe and myself, since we were at the SPOC meeting in Dallas. I want to commend the board and its membership for handling those issues. I think it shows how dexterous we are and how capable we are. And then it also highlighted a few differences, which can be good, because with these diverse experiences that we have, sometimes there will be some disagreements. But if we all come together, which we have been doing, we're going to accomplish a lot with regards to interoperability. And I'm really looking forward to, bringing forward everybody's strengths and helping us carry forward the goal towards total interoperability across the state. I also want to thank Craig Allen for his commitment to expanding interoperability in Iowa. He's been a great mentor to me, and I appreciate all of his work going forward and everything he's done for me in the past as well. I do want to also send a message out to our local sheriff's offices, fire departments, police departments, emergency medical personnel, that I am here for them if they have any concerns or questions regarding interoperability, LMR, broadband, anything that you may be faced with as far as the technical challenge is concerned. There's a lot of new things coming out now, and there's a lot of noise, and I'm going to help them sort through that noise, and I will always do everything I can to make sure that I can give them a clear and concise and straight answer. So I look forward to hearing from them, especially if there's questions going forward. One thing that arose last month also was that perhaps we need a policy that outlines what happens when we have a policy that conflicts procedure. And I drafted one of those, and it's working its way through governance right now. I don't believe it's on the meeting agenda for this month, but perhaps next month. And what that'll do is it'll help us spell out a clear and concise path forward if something like that happens again. It's good to have transparency on a board such as this and a defined process, and this will help spell it out for us. I'd also like to touch on encryption. This will be interlaced in a few spots throughout my remarks here. We did remove those encrypted talk groups last month, but it doesn't mean that encryption is gone forever on Isics. Quite the contrary, I think it's in our future. And I think what we need to do is assess what's going on around Iowa and what some other counties are doing. For example, Woodbury County, they're going to have encryption for their operability talk groups. And we could perhaps learn some things from how things are managed, like keys and equipment and everything else associated with it. And my thought is that we can take those experiences and go forward and bring it into Isics in some way, shape, or form. We do need to sort out some items because of the pure scale of the network. There's a lot of problems with key distribution and programming and key updates and rekeying, whether you do that in person or over the air. There's also some technical problems with some of the hardware pathways on radio systems, and those need to be sorted out as well. Finally, too, I think we need to decide how many talk groups we actually want to have that are encrypted. It's great to say that we could, in theory, encrypt everything, but in practice, that may not be the best path forward. And one thing that I've found that when you have a large-scale issue like this, it's really good to make sure you have the problem accurately defined before you start going through this. And I'm not sure, perhaps, that we have been able to define the problem and the usage entirely yet. And what I'd like to do is investigate what other states are doing as well that have these statewide systems and get their input and their feedback and how they handle some of the more complex processes, figure out what their best practices are, what their experiences have been, bring them here, and then combine that with our more defined and robust usage of the network, and then come forward with something that works well. I'm going to be sharing my findings with the technology and user group committees in the next couple of months, and we'll go from there. Just for reference too, there are some examples of other states and cities that have been using encrypted talk groups for a long time, but some of them are very narrowly focused. And I think that's something we need to investigate a little bit further, whether it's special events or some other type of response that requires that. I also want to caution everybody that as we go forward on this path, that we don't start blending operability with interoperability. That can be a tremendous, tremendous sticking point, and a very clear understanding of both of them are needed in something like this so that we can properly define what our usage is going to be and what path we want to choose. So, Chair Updike is, Chair Updike from the Technology Committee is going to work on a policy today that he's going to brief us on, 2014-3. He'll talk on some of that later on in the meeting. FirstNet plans have been released. Our board chair and Spock Lampy are working through the nuances with that. He's been in touch with the governor's office, and the meeting with the FirstNet Broadband Committee was held, and that will come up today in the meeting as well. I had a chance to participate in a webinar that was hosted by FPIC and the Offices of Emergency Communications regarding the recent Super Bowl in Houston. It was very informative on how they utilized LMR and broadband during a single event. It touched on a lot of things that we're going to be looking at in Iowa in the next several years, one of which was encryption, which I'm also going to take some of their feedback into account as we move forward. But they were able to have a lot of success incorporating LMR and broadband together as part of a total interoperability solution. And I think a lot of those lessons that they've learned are going to scale down very nicely to events here in Iowa, such as the state fair, large football games, the racetrack out in Newton. I think we're going to be able to learn a lot from that. Getting down into some of the meetings that I was able to attend, I was recently in Chicago for the TR8 meeting and the P25 standard steering committee. One thing that popped up repeatedly was the ISSI. It was revealed in some conversations with some Motorola employees that are on that board that they have not had a meeting to advance the standards since 2012. There was some talk of having a meeting, but they have since abandoned those plans. So with that, we listened to a lot of presentations about the ISSI and asked a lot of questions. And about the only time we heard of an instance in which the ISSI worked well was when the vendor on both sides of the ISSI was the same. So vendor A may be on VHF, you have the ISSI between them, then on the other side, vendor A may be on 800 or 700 megahertz. That's about the only time it worked well. Otherwise, they were devoting considerable man hours and resources to keeping the thing running. And one of the reasons for that is that the standards for the ISSI, since they haven't met on it since 2012, the standards are still pretty loose. So if you wanted to make an analogy, it would be similar to saying, well, we're going to build a car. It's got to have 4 wheels. It's got to have a windshield. It's got to have lights. It's got to have an engine. But there's no process to determine where those things are located on the vehicle. So you could end up with something that's technically a car, but it's going to operate completely different from what something someone else may do. There are other issues that come forward with that, such as tying FDMA and TDMA systems together. And again, it presents a lot of complexities. The desired state would be to have standards like the 802.11 Wi-Fi standards that are very tight. That's a system where you can take any device that's Wi-Fi capable, and it just works. But that's not the case with the ISSI. So at this case, as a board, we have to ask ourselves that if standards for the ISSI technology are not being further developed, and they're not going to hold meetings on this, number one, is this technology essentially dead? Without any standards development, I'm not sure if we could realistically make the case that an investment in this type of technology is good for us and good for the Iowa taxpayer. So that's a hard question that we have to ask ourselves. I did talk to a representative from Oregon. They are looking at implementing an ISSI system to integrate their very vast array of networks in the state. They're very similar to Iowa in that they have multiple vendors, multiple frequencies being used, and their estimated costs for just capital to get it running are $7 million. And then they're expecting another $3 million in initial costs as far as personnel and backhaul, just to get things hooked together. And then that, from what my understanding is, does not factor in the ongoing costs such as monthly backhaul, maintenance, and whatever other support they need to keep it running. Their SWIC and I have been talking recently about this issue since we have a very similar landscape as far as vendor presence and frequency presence. And we're working on exchanging some ideas and figuring out what the best path forward is. Just to restate really quickly, the ISSI can work, but the vendor landscape almost has to be homogeneous. If you have a diverse array of vendors, things start to fall apart. Encryption over a P25 trunk system was also covered at TIA. The big concern was that you can have an encrypted system, but if you have single key radios, OTAR is completely out of the picture for you. And this ties back into some of the concerns we had with encryption here. So if we wanted to do OTAR over ISICS, every radio purchased would have to be multi-key. So that comes with a considerable cost. So this is something else we have to factor in as a board going forward. If we are going to do this, how are we going to implement this so it doesn't create an undue burden on users? So there's also some issues with how keys are assigned within radios. You may have a single key radio that cannot talk to a multi-key radio because of the way the key slots are organized and numbered within the hardware. So that's something else that has to be developed further as a standard. I verified that with a couple different vendors, and more or less after some prodding, they acknowledge that that is indeed the case. We need to, I think, come together as a board and create a wish list for groups like TIA and say, hey, these are our requests, these are our needs. Let's get these into standards and help drive that market forward so we can get what we need as far as interoperability goes. And I think that'll help things out tremendously going forward as well. So our investment in TIA and TR8 continues to be a wise one. The TIA and P25 committee are also looking for locations for future meetings. I lobbied pretty heavily for them to come to the Des Moines metro area because I think it would be a tremendous opportunity for our board members and committee members to see how these things are derived as far as standards go, what goes into them, the amount of debate, and the complexities that are involved with everything as well. And I think it could be an excellent learning experience for everybody. Finally, the skip work is ongoing. We've had several conference calls and webinars, and we just had a very large workshop that was held on June 28th at Grandview University. It was well attended, and we had a lot of ideas that were brought forth regarding interoperability, and we've even gone so far as to add in some new interoperability lanes, which, based on some of the feedback I got, the things we did in Grandview University may become part of the national conversation. So I think as a board and committees, we did very well with the construction of this skip. We're hoping to have it completed in August or September, and after that, adoption. So I do want to thank everybody on the board, the various committees we have, the RICs, and the Office of Emergency Communications for their participation, input, and guidance. A long-term vision document like this is not an easy lift. It takes a tremendous amount of effort, but I think we've come together very well, and we've assembled an excellent plan that's forward-thinking and progressive, and also a living, breathing document, so it's going to be adaptable. So going forward, I think interoperability in Iowa is going to advance tremendously in the next 5 years. Future work with that, Arlene Torres from the Office of Emergency Communications is coordinating with our committee chairs to further develop each committee's goals and objectives. And I also want to say to please keep an eye out for training opportunities. With new things coming out every day, I would imagine that more opportunities will arise in the next several months. And if Jim Lundstedt is on the phone today, he may be able to outline some of those for us. Thank you.
A couple things, Chris. You mentioned the adoption of the skip, maybe August, September. Is September the latest?
I think that's when the skip might be completed. Based on the timeline we have now, it may not be until October until it's presented before the board.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, let's move on to Blake.
Good morning. Today at the 911 Council meeting, the council approved 3 GIS grants for a total of $37,250. Also, if you go ahead, Sean, and display the overhead camera, we talked about text to 911 update. Currently, 62 of the PSAPs are capable of text to 911 with a couple caveats to that. Polk County Sheriff's Office is still experiencing some spotty issues that we're working with the vendor community to work through. And then also, those counties displayed in green are capable of receiving a text. We're still, in some of them, working through the process of getting all of the carriers up and running. It's, again, a very arduous process to get them all up and running. So they may be in various phases of testing, but at least all of those have the capability and tested with Verizon. So we continue to roll that out. We did extend the deadline on what the state of Iowa will continue to pay for until mid-October. So the counties that are displayed in white, most of those have been scheduled and should be completed by mid-October. So we are continuing to work on that process. Also, I think everyone's aware it's after July 1st, so that means all the new laws for 911 are now into effect. So we did a webinar back in the end of May on those program and legislative changes as they affect 911. That webinar is still up on our website. It's about 30 to 45 minutes long. If you haven't gotten a chance to look at that, if you're interested, please do so.
What's the website, Mike?
homelandsecurity.iowa.gov. We talked last month a little bit about one of the things that was in that legislation was tasking us with further exploration of merging the wireline 911 network with the existing wireless next-gen 911 network, as well as a shared service environment of sharing equipment across PSAPs. We do have an RFP out on the street for that right now. It is on the DAS bidding website. Because that's on the street, I really can't talk too much more about it other than to let everyone know that is available and in process. One last note, October 2nd, in conjunction with the Iowa APCO NENA conference, their conference is the 3rd and 4th. On the 2nd, on the afternoon of the 2nd, we will be having another state 911 program update. as well as a panel presentation. Our office gets a lot of 911 service board related questions, and a lot of them have some common themes throughout. So we're going to kind of do a best practices, dispel rumors, answer some questions about all things 911 service board as part of that. So that's October 2nd. It's at the it's at the Ramada or the Holiday Inn off of Merle Hay in Johnston there. So the registration link is up and running. I sent that out a couple weeks ago, but if anyone is interested, just get in touch with me and I'll get you the registration link. Any
When does the RFP close?
We actually just moved it back. I want to say the middle of August. We pushed that timeline back a little bit on when it closes. The decision point will still be the same. We didn't actually push the whole thing back, just we gave vendors a little bit more time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 10, the UGC, Chair Buffington.
All right, thank you. We started off that we do every month and talk about a regional interoperable committee. See the progress there. We're seeing very little right now, and that's kind of a trend right now that's concerning, especially with FirstNet being so close here in the state of Iowa, as well as Isicsb moving along. Really, Region 1 and Region 2 are staying busy. The other chairs are either busy, not having success, or they're vacant. So we're seeing some effects of the reassignment at the ICN of Helen Trijanovich, who was formerly Deputy SWIC. Obviously, her duties changed, and she's no longer that for Isicsb. And then John Tell Harris, her duties have changed as well. So the absence of those two, we're seeing the effects at the local level. I don't know if there's anything we can or would want to do about it. Obviously not today, but in the future, I think it proved its value while Helen and John Tell were of service to the regional interoperable committees. We looked at, we have a bunch of applications coming up, so next month we could have up to a half a dozen different applications for Isicsb access. And today you'll see on the agenda that we're going to be considering Northern Warren Fire Departments that was approved by user group committee. And we also still need to keep working on our application process to make sure it's streamlined and we don't miss anything. We've had a couple hiccups, no real fumbles or missteps, but we need to continue to work on that so that those applicants are getting what they need. We had a conversation about last month. It was presented to us the 7800 low power interop channels that Isicsb would have to license. The UGC discussed it, and we would support the technology committee's bid to have the board license those low power interop channels. And lastly, we of course talked about encryption ad nauseum. We're all over the board on it right now. I think it's one of those we have to continue to have discussions because there's so much opinion and facts on both sides. So as we continue this, and we're obviously going to continue at the user group committee level, but at the point that we ended at our last UGC, there didn't appear to be a lot of support for not encrypting those interop talk groups. I've had conversations since then with others that strongly support not having encryption. So we're all over the board with this. I just think, as SWIC said, we need to wade into this, make sure that we're doing it correctly, and whatever changes we make today aren't forever and permanent. We just need to make sure that we're doing this that's going to be in the best interest of the users and the state of Iowa. So with that, if there's no questions, that's all I have.
Andy, do I still need to appoint a federal representative to that?
Yeah, there's right now your state rep for public safety is Dave Britton.
Yep.
We need one, I believe, from DOT and one from, Department of Corrections, I believe, and then that leaves 3 others open. It could be state or federal users. So that's to your discretion as the chair.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, number 11, did Chair Grosskirth jump on the phone? Kelly, are you on the phone? One more time, Chair Grosskirth, are you on the phone for the Finance Committee? Nikki Whitaker, do you happen to be on the phone for the Finance Committee? She's the Vice Chair. We'll come back to that. Governance Committee, Chair Benson, you on the phone? Oh, you're right there. I thought you were on the phone earlier. Okay, I didn't see you.
All right, so the governance committee met or had a conference call on July 3rd, and I actually wasn't the only one on the phone. We did consider several different items during the call. The first being the ISSSI policy, which I believe the SWIC I did hear addressing a little bit. We actually had some other issues with the policy as it was written. So I have forwarded those over to Chris to take a look at, make amendments to that document, and also requested that the Technology Committee review it as well. So we did not take any formal action to move that particular policy forward. The second item was the Next Generation 911 policy. The committee did move that policy forward with no edits. That you will find we will be taking that up later on the agenda. And I'll talk about it a little further there. Chris did give us the precedent policy to start working on. We are going to be making some edits to that document as well. I anticipate that we will most likely have it back in front of the entire board for your August meeting. Then lastly, we took a review of at least with regard to the governance portion of the SCIP, and looked at the draft results of that. We're particularly interested in creating a process to administer grant funds and donated assets that the board does receive. We don't have one presently, so we're going to start working on that. I don't have a time frame for that to be completed, but that'll be one of our major projects that we will be undertaking in the next month and months going forward. Other than that, there was nothing further from the meeting, and I would answer any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Move on to operations. I don't know if Deb signed in or not. If she did not, is there the vice chair here today? Anybody from operations?
Good. Okay. I have it on my.
Excuse me? Okay, go ahead.
I was unable to attend the operations meeting. I was on vacation, so I don't know what happened.
Okay. If she jumps. You good? Okay. We'll jump back if she happens to jump on. Outreach. Here.
Anything to report, we continue to send out what we get.
Okay. Sheriff Pavlik, can you be on the phone today?
I am.
Wow. Go ahead.
So we were not able to meet. Unfortunately, I had a personal issue I had to take care of, so we did not meet. However, a couple of things that we are going to be reviewing on our next call, which is Wednesday, the 19th. We will be going through our goals and objectives that are in the SCIP. And also, we may be making a recommendation to the board next month for credentialing of a new ComL, Josh Humphrey. Or Humphrey, I'm sorry. So that is really all I have to report.
All right, thank you. Patrick Updike, are you on the phone?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're up. Technology Committee report.
Yeah, technology met on June 22nd. Basically what we did was we just stuck with working on the 2014-3 policy revision. Hopefully you have that in front of you to look at. I would like to go over that. We're going to have to move this towards the operations and governance committees at a minimum to scrub this and look it over. But if you look at this policy, the first revision has yellow highlights. The second revision has green highlights. The overall intent of redoing this is to be sensitive to all of those operators out there who want encryption and those that don't want encryption. And so the real the real meat of this is in the green highlights that states that Policy 2015-04, adopted on December 9th of 2015, directs the Isicsb Technology Committee to oversee interoperability usage on such public safety frequencies. The reason for putting this wording in there is, and this is where we want governance to assist with this, is this could potentially allow the technology committee to amend any future or existing documents that outlines interoperability usage for whatever it may be, up to and including encryption. The other part that was added is, and this was brought forward by one of our technology committee members, is that in current NIFOG handbooks, there are some allowances for encryption on interoperability 700 meg public safety channels. And so we really want people to look this over and help out with it, because it takes everybody's wants, needs, feelings, and desires into consideration, and allows quite a bit of flexibility, even though at the end it endorses no encryption on public safety interoperability frequencies or trunk system talk groups within the Isicsb system. So obviously we're not at a position to put this out for 30 days, but the hope is that by next month we can move that forward for 30-day posting. So I really appreciate it if people could get involved with this throughout the committees, and let's at least come to some resolution on this so that we don't have discrepancies sitting out there. I guess the end result is when we have that procedure lying out there that shows all of the regional talk groups, we can amend that as a committee, a technology committee, to either reflect encryption on talk groups or no encryption at all. Gives us the ability to make changes as needed. We did meet, the SCIP meeting was on June 28th. I attended that. Didn't quite get through everything that we needed to as far as the technology committee goes, so I did communicate with Darlene yesterday via email. We are setting up a July 20th conference call to follow up on the SCIP plan for the technology side of it. And so that's all I have for that monthly report.
Okay, we'll get back to you at new business then. Thank you.
Thanks.
Move on to item number 18 under other reports, information sharing among the board members. Does any of the board members have any information they'd like to share with the other board members, including people on the phone?
I would talk to a Lynn County incident where we had the tornado go through Central City and Prairieburg. We had the tornado path was within about a football field or a quarter mile or so of one of our communications towers, and it did take down a microwave link to one of our other towers. Of course, it was clear at the top, so we were pretty close.
You took the dish off, blew the dish off?
It spun the ice shield and dropped the ice shield onto the dish, which screwed it up. So.
Oh.
The other, I guess I can talk to the Lynn County system. We are moving to full encryption on our law enforcement talk groups, probably by the end of July.
Okay. I have one. Beginning September 1st, and it's the reason I asked you about the SCIP completion. So I may change this until October, but Jason, I, and Chris are going to be traveling around the state or setting up presentations, webinars for all the committee chairs. And that the purpose of that is not only to deliver you each the SCIP, which is the Bible and living document that we're going to live by here, and also the vision between October and next October, about this time when hopefully the system is operational. So we got a lot to get done. So I think each of the chairs need vision on what they need to do to get done to move that forward, so we're ready. So some tasks and duties that what applies to each committee. So we'll sit down with you, share the vision, add your thoughts, so we have things that each of your committees can be working on between October of 17 and 18 when the system's up and running. And there's a lot of work to do between now and then, including the lots of rules and standards we need to get passed. We got a little change to make here, but we'll get back on our feet. I'm going to set up a training session on the standards for the standards committee that each of you appointed to the standards working group to get it through the flow to the governance committee on the use of the application we use for that to track those, which is Asana. So I sent a link out to join that, but I think probably what happened is it went to your junk mail and then you probably didn't get it. So that's probably where it's setting. So I'm going to send out the link again just to test that. I got on the chat piece of the Asana app and asked, did anybody see this? Can anybody hear me? And I haven't checked it since I left the office, but so I'll send out another one in the next week. So watch your junk mail. It should be from Asana. It should be actually from my email address, but it probably kicks it out of your inbox and throws it into the junk mail. So when you get that, click on the link and it'll set you up to get on the app as a user to see all the standards that we're working on, and it'll show the flow. And then once everybody's on it, then we'll train on how to use it. So it works very simple. It's very nice, but we got to have a way to track it. So we'll be doing that. So that's all I have to share. If there's anything else you'd like to share before we move on, this meeting is going actually fairly quick here. Okay, Motorola, are you here? Is Melvin here today? Okay. Jim Lundstead, are you on the phone? Busy time of year, isn't it?
I'd heard at the 911 meeting that he didn't call in because he was ill.
Oh, okay. So let's move on to old business. Standards Working Group, Terry?
We're in the process of finding a new candidate for our leader for the standards group, and so we're working through trying to locate persons to will be able to facilitate that for us and keep us moving. Right now, we're just kind of holding our own at this point. So that's all I have to report at this point.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Let's move on to under old business, the ISSI report. I think, John, you kind of covered, we're just going to, you want to address any more on that under old business? You kind of covered it in your report, so, okay. Genesis Software, Chair Grosskworth, do you happen to be on the phone? If not, I can explain that one. Okay. So last month, the Genesis Software, as you know, or maybe you don't know, or if you can remember what the reason for purchasing that was, to monitor the Isicsb system, to grab all that data, that's raw data, out of there and put it in a nice monthly report, which we could produce to anybody on the system at a monthly basis on how their users are doing, how the tower sites are doing. Very nice application. So the technology, or not technology, the finance committee wanted a sole source report and some documentation on how to purchase this. Didn't have a problem with actually paying for half of it, but it was $60-some thousand, but they wanted some documentation. So in the meantime, between that meeting and a couple of weeks ago, I managed to call the software company and went through the paperwork on it, got all the documentation I needed, and I managed to knock about $10,000 off the bill to get it within the state rules of $50,000. So I went ahead and purchased it with my DPS fund. So I'm not going to tax the board with any kind of ask for that for half. So DPS just bought it, and we'll absorb the cost on that. There's some maintenance involved yearly. We get a year free. I may or may not come back to the board and ask for a few dollars for that, but at this point, I'm not going to do that. But we just purchased it to get it done and absorbed the whole cost on that. So I did receive the software. So we'll get, and we have some hardware we need to buy, which is a server and some computers to run it. I will also purchase that with no expense to the board. So we'll keep that moving. And that's all we have on, has anybody got questions on that? Do you like to ask anything about the software? Melvin? I'll take you whenever you're ready. Anything else on the Genesis? Any questions?
Tom, I've got a quick question while
Sure.
Melvin's getting ready. What about Sean, or excuse me, Sean's contract? How did that evolve?
He needs the microphone's not picking you up very good, Larry.
Oh, your mic?
Curious about how the
Oh, yes,
contract with Sean, the
Yes.
renewal of the contract, how
Thanks.
that went. We
Thank-
discussed that a couple months ago.
Thank you for reminding me. You authorized me up to $10,000. I negotiated a 2% raise, which is under the $10,000 cap. So, and we will sign that contract for another year. Okay, so 2% raise on the contract. If you want the math, we can get that to you, but it's under the authorized, what you authorized me to do. Okay, Melvin, you're up. You didn't get a speeding ticket or anything, did you? You didn't get a speeding ticket on the way here, did you? All right.
All right. All right. Things continue to stay pretty busy. As you can see on the screen, we're every region is above the 50% mark. Region 4 is actually moved up to the top in terms of activity. All of these have seen the percentage increase. Again, and on average, we seem to go about 5% every month. We see the jump here for Region 1 of about 5 percentage points, and then Region 5, 6 percentage points. Again, overall, we're up to the 65% from 60, so it's about 5 percentage points from last time around as the project moves forward. Again, the numbers can be a little bit deceiving, but we've been pretty busy. So we have right now 48 sites active in some form of construction, some foundations, some tower stackings, some sites done. So we're all over the place throughout the state. We have about half of those are ready for the state to inspect, so we can accept the sites, and then the others are in some other state of flux. Woodbury County has completed the integration, so they have cut over to the new system. Their dispatch has cut over to the new system, and they are full TDMA, 2-slot TDMA, and integrated into the Isicsb platform. It's sad that it's one single bullet, but there was a lot of work associated with getting that piece done. It was similar to the work that we did with Westcom. If anything, Westcom allowed us to go through the process and make sure we got everything figured out, and so we were able to replicate that for the Woodbury system. Dallas County has transitioned operations into the Isicsb as well. So we had completed the integration, a large portion of the integration before, but now they're actually operating off of the Isicsb, which is good. So with this, we have three large systems that are operational. We got Woodbury, Dallas County, and Westcom right now that are on the Isicsb platform, plus the sites that we have in the downtown Des Moines area as well. So given the 4th of July weekend, it was kind of an odd, kind of in the middle of the week and whatnot. But one of the things I'd like to do for the next meeting is I'd like to demonstrate, bring up a radio, and I'd like to demonstrate a live call between here and all the systems that are interconnected to the Isicsb, so you can get a feel for it. We can use the interoperability talk groups and talk to dispatches up in Woodbury, Westcom, Dallas County, and the other dispatch centers that are connected to the core. Microwave dish installations continue. As the towers have been erected or the modification to existing towers have been done, we continue to do that on a regular basis, and that's just ongoing work. We depend a lot on weather to get that done, so the weather has to cooperate because these dishes, we have 4, 6, and 8-foot dishes, and the 8-foot dishes are particularly quite a challenge to get up there when it gets windy or it starts raining. We have a few issues with getting power to the sites. So we have sites that are completed, but we have no power to the sites yet. So we're working through that right now. We're working on locking some DNR sites. DNR sites are a little bit more complicated to deal with, the extra layer of paperwork and whatnot. So we're in the process of working through that right now. Once that process completes, then we can start dealing with those. And that's right now for DNR, I believe it's 3 sites right now. With DOT sites, we only have 1 site last that has an issue that we're working through. Again, it's all paperwork related, so I think we should be able to get this done relatively soon so we can complete that one. But other than that, all the other DOT sites are locked in place. We had 2 sites that were rejected by local boards, one up in Story County, but we restarted that process. We had to move the location so that it would meet some local ordinances. And in the process of doing that, we had to restart the regulatory process. So we had to restart the NEPAs and the FAAs and whatnot. It's moving quickly. And then just recently, we had another site that was rejected that we have an alternative for, that we have a plan to get that resolved. And we have, as part of the system design, we have some lease sites. It's very few. The contract, we had 6, and I think we're down to, we're looking at about 4 lease sites for the entire statewide system, which is not bad when you consider that we have about 90 sites throughout the state. We tend to leave those for the end because that's where, when nothing else works, that's where you go to the lease sites. So there's all sorts of complications, so we try to leave those to the end, and we have more flexibility with dealing with those as well. And because they're lease sites, that means that a lot of regulatory no longer applies because they're existing sites, so we can build on those a lot quicker. That's all I had. Any questions?
Questions for Melvin? Okay. Is anybody from finance on the call? Nikki, I was told you may be on the call. Nikki, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I've already briefed them on the Genesis software, and they inquired about the increase on Sean's, but if you could go over what you talked about on finance with Kelly yesterday, I believe you had your meeting?
Yes, we did. The Finance Committee met yesterday. We reviewed the financial statements. There was nothing of note, just normal operating costs. As Tom mentioned, that we will be seeing the final billings for the federal engineering contract, so that will show some savings in the board's accounts as we formally switch from Craig as the SWIC to Chris. As Tom mentioned, we did discuss the Connect Nation. We also discussed Genesis. That was really the main emphasis of our discussion.
Any questions for Nikki while we have her? Appreciate you jumping on the call, Nikki. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Okay. I inadvertently missed Mr. Sean's outreach. If you could just come out here, Sean. He's got something you'll like to see here.
So I'll get right to it here. Project list. We're talking outreach, of course, PSAP outreach and RIC outreach. That's of course at the top of everyone's mind. That is one of the things we're working on, a strategy with our new SWIC. We did just complete the new way, we believe, to help people apply to the Isicsb platform. I'm going to debut that. Ethan, if we go ahead and show this. Now, what this site is for is just for joining Isicsb, okay? It will have a couple other availabilities, but for right now, it's a registration site, so it'll get you through the first layer of joining Isicsb. So you can register, which is a very simple process. You select your agency type. So let's say you're a county sheriff, so you'd say select law enforcement. Come down here and type in, I'm just gonna say Iowa County Sheriff. Please excuse any typing, I'm just trying to do this for a demo. And it's 123 Law Lane. And I don't know. Oops. As you can see, it is user-friendly if I screw up. For county, if I go in here and I select Iowa County, here's the nice thing. I know a lot of you have told me, hey, I don't know my region, I don't know my county abbreviation, or I don't know my county number. I put all those in for you. I tried to make it as easy as possible. I figure if you know your county, I'll fill in the rest. Next step, just put in whoever your agency contact is. And then is this going to be the same person who fills out the rest of the information? You might be, as the sheriff, fill this out, but you have one of your deputies. So you would put in your deputy's information here, and you click on no, and then you put in your deputy's information as to being the point of contact. This will then generate an email. You'll click it. First thing it'll do is give you your username and password. It'll ask you, once you log in, you'll change your password. And then it will ask you a few additional questions, like, do you plan on using the system for operations or just interoperability? And there will be another question asking you about the number of radios and if you'll be using the system for dispatching. And then there's also a template for the letter of intent and the MOA. All of it's there. You can either click on it and download a Word template. You can click on it and see the other template that's already out there, or you can just copy and paste from the website for the letter of intent. For the MOA, it's a direct download. As soon as you fill it out, print it out, sign it, there's an upload button. You can take a picture of it, you do a PDF, whatever else, you click on the upload, and it's done. You get to the final step, you review all your stuff, and you click on submit, and then your submittal for joining the Isicsb platform is complete. Now, where will that go? Right now it goes to IowaNet at iowa.gov so that we have redundancy in making sure that somebody receives your application. There's at least 5 people in the DPS office that receives the email. Then it'll go to the chair and the vice chair to approve or disapprove and then push it on to the UGC. At that point, then the process becomes, they'll provide the user consulting and then move forward to the next steps. Now, we've also found that there are questions about the workflow and the skip. So the SWIC and I have started putting together flow diagrams so everyone understands how the workflow works and where they are in the process. So it's a lot more visual and a lot easier for people to understand. Beyond that, we're working on some social media updates to make sure that you're getting more information, at least if you like to watch Facebook or watch Twitter rather than the newsletters. We're going to try and make sure that those are integrated a little bit more. The app summit and the deployable summit that we talked about, we're putting on hold until we have a decision on FirstNet for the state. And that would be, for the most part, my update, unless anyone has any questions.
For the second phase with the user group consulting goes back to the entity, right?
I'm sorry?
So the second phase of the form, so you got the initial form, comes to us, we push it. Mm-hmm. Then the consulting team comes out to the entity again, mm-hmm. logs back into their portal, right?
Yep.
And then fills out another form and answering them and questions about number of radios, councils, towers, all that's all in that, going to be in that information. So they can take that back then to the committee to approve or disapprove, right?
That's what we've discussed. Once we get that completed, yes.
Okay.
This will serve as a portal. We believe that the portal route would make the best sense, keeps all the data in one place, it allows us control. And then Chair Buffington had also requested that maybe at some point we show who's joined or where they are in the process with a little map. And I said, you know, if I get the prioritization and I get the approval, of course we can talk about that. But because of the way I built the site, it will allow for those types of manipulations, so that, you know, when people want to check and see who's already on, who's starting the process, and all of those types of things, those capabilities can be built. I did build it in keeping those things in mind, as well as when the email comes out to the MOA. So if you see something on the email that and you're like, well, I'm not sure if that's how I self-identify with the MOA, because I built the agency disciplines based on the MOA as well as CASM, so that all this data would also work for CASM as well. I was trying to hit as many birds with one stone, and let me tell you, I'd lined up as many as I could for this process. And so you'll see when you click on these, it'll say public safety, or it may say public service. Now, the reason why they say those things is because of the MOA, and that's how the forms were developed. If you have questions or concerns about how you were labeled, please talk to us. This is the web form. In real life, we can you know, make adjustments at the board's discretion, but I wanted to make sure no one got caught up on, hey, why does mine say this? Especially with, you know, DOT is a special entity in which they have a law enforcement portion as well as, you know, the highway portion. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew the reasoning and why it says what it says. Any questions?
Sean, if you put multiple agencies in there,
Yep.
will it populate later on about who else you define who those multiple agencies are?
That's a great question. So the way it works is, as you see right now, I have multiple agencies. As you see, I have multiple agencies selected. So, for example, you're the emergency manager. If they've tasked you with submitting, because you have to have the MOA, you have to have the letter of intent from each agency to join the Isicsb platform. So it's almost better for each agency themselves to submit the application. If you want to take that upon yourself and submit all at once for your county, it wasn't really built with that intent. Can it do it? Yes, it can. You would just upload multiple documents. But what happens is there's the disconnect of you will be the contact for all of those as far as the portal's concerned. So those entities, say, so for example, let's say it's a PD, that entity won't have direct access into the portal to access their stuff because you submitted it for them. And so that's where the disconnect may occur, because the portal was on a one-to-one basis. You will submit for yourself. You will self-identify. You will submit your letter of intent. You will submit your MOA. So it can, but it's not really the intent of how it would be used, because communication is critical, and making sure that we have that agency contact. If you listed multiple agency contacts in the site too, right now it only allows for one additional agency contact. So the main thing was, do we have a point of contact to make sure that if we have a question, if there's a problem, and with that one-to-one relationship that maintains that communications path, it's clear. We have at least 1 to 2 persons in our system immediately when you apply. Where if you apply for multiple agencies, that one-to-one connection isn't there. So my concern would be updates or any other news that we may need to push to you concerning the Isicsb platform. The system isn't necessarily built optimally for that scenario.
Okay, thanks.
Sean, when will it be live?
It'll be live as soon as you tell me green light go. We've been testing it with the Interops Bureau. I've asked plenty of the people there to try it out. I'm confident that it works. The way that it delivers the email is very readable. Chair Lampy has seen multiple emails. As he's told me, he's seen all 100 tries that we were doing July 3rd. So we've been testing and retesting. But I wanted this to be so easy for, one, the user. I want the agencies to be like, hey, Sean, this was a no-brainer, thank you. Thank you for making life easier. Thank you for not bobbing us through 20 different steps. And if there is a problem, I'm the guy to talk to, I'll fix it. Or at least I'll take it into consideration, whatever problem that you had. Because the forcing of the password was for security concerns. I wanted to make sure that I could make it easier for you to log in, but to complete the process, I also have to force you to change your password. Otherwise, I don't know what could be. You know, none of this stuff is top secret or classified or it's relatively basic stuff that you share in your board meetings. But I wanted to make sure that my intent was ease of use. That was really it. And I chopped it up so that it was very breadcrumb trail, easy, step by step. But if there is a problem or you have a concern or you encounter something that could be improved upon, I reworded several things just based on somebody said, hey, could you make it say, thank you for submitting, go to check your email. And we did that. So I'm definitely open to suggestions.
So is it a link? And if it's a link, where would it be on our website to access it?
I will post that as soon as you green light me. I will post it so that everybody knows, and then I will begin including it in the newsletter. I'll make it as easy to find as possible. And then this website is not meant to replace the current site. That's why it's in all black. It's just meant to serve as the Isicsb process flow to get you through the forms to help make that easier. So that's all this website is for. I don't want anyone to think that this is to replace the board website. This is just strictly to provide you an easy platform just to walk through the Isicsb joining.
Does it self-correct itself for missing fields if they forgot to fill something in?
It does display an error message that says you forgot to input one of the required fields.
All right.
But it should make, hopefully, Chair Buffington's life a lot easier because the email comes in with 2 attachments. When they click on submit, so after they register and they log back in, they fill out those 2 items, the letter of intent and the MOA, they attach them, and when they click on submit, it goes to IowaNet, and then all Tom or Chair Leonard have to do is forward it to you and say, we're good with this, please evaluate. And so I really tried to make it as easy as I could for both sides of the equation.
Does it pick up that they didn't attach the MOA and the letter of intent? If not, I would ask that be put in there because I could see that happening.
It's extremely difficult to do that, and here's the reason why. Whatever you name, so the first thing is I would have to create a naming standard and you'd have to name the document. And so if people named it anything outside of the standard that I would require them, then it would kick it out. So that would be one thing. It would add additional logic overhead that we would have to take into consideration because right now I built it so that even if they took a picture or they scanned it and it was PDF name 12345.pdf and they clicked on upload, I really don't care what it's called. But if we get it and we check that the attachment's not the correct attachment, then we'll of course have to contact you and say, hey, you might have to refill that out and then resubmit it. But otherwise, the logic for something like that would take quite a bit of considerable time and effort, unless we were going to create a naming standard. But then I would also have to enforce the type of file it was, because we'd have to say, are you uploading a Word document, uploading a PDF, uploading an image file? The site doesn't care right now for ease of use purposes, as well as cost efficiency. Creating that additional logic would require more time and effort.
Looks great.
Thank you.
Thanks
I've
for the
got a
hard work.
question. Where is it going to be on our website?
It'll be a link. It'll be a link.
But where?
What page?
I will probably put it under the radio. I will put it on the radio, and then I will also put it wherever else makes good logical sense, and then as well as in the newsletter.
Could you put a big join button right on the front?
I can totally put a big.
I think our website, I struggle.
Yeah,
Make
otherwise-
it really easy.
If you see, Ethan, if you go back here, this website has 8 buttons. 2 of them connect directly back to our site for forms and calendar. As you see, there's a big join button. And that join button will be a process flow, and then there will be a registration button. I made this, as you can see, there's nothing complicated. There's nothing more than one word for each icon.
So could you pull up the Isicsb website while you got there?
Sure.
Could we put it in, like we're at Mission Radio, FirstNet Data, could we just create another one that says join, right in front of you, join? Is that what you're asking? That'd be easy, would that be?
Well, okay, so
Yeah,
working
join
with the
Isix-
state has made us aware of their process. I can put up my website tomorrow and put links out there for you immediately. Going through the OCIO and those offices, this will probably take about a month or longer. So I'm just being realistic. It will take a whole lot longer for us to implement this way. Whereas I can put another link on. So if we clicked on the radio page, I could put a big button right there at the top that says join, way faster than going through and then have them modify the front page.
So it'd be hard to change the land mobile radio interoperability in Iowa. Join.
Right
Add
here.
the word. That's what you're saying is hard to change. That's there.
I'm saying that they have a lot longer process and turnaround to
Can you put the join right under the radio? Yeah, click to join, then put the link right there.
They can do whatever we ask. I'm just saying the timeline.
Oh, you can't do that, they have to do it.
That is correct.
You could put links in, but they have to change the face?
On this portion, they typically are the ones who make those changes.
Is there a cost to that?
I would assume yes. Based on what we've experienced in the past, it's kind of a process, which is why I created the alternate site.
Well, I don't see a month as a big deal, but eventually I'd like to get there, would you?
Okay. Yep. We can do that.
On? If we're looking at a location for a button, if you scroll back up to the top of the Isicsb website, the one thing I noticed that's consistent in appearance on every page so far is the top row where it says Home, About, News, Services, Resources, and Contact. Why not put the join button right there so it's front and center, top, easy to see, and then appears on every page? Because I'm assuming that's just part of some style sheet that's referenced on every page and shows up everywhere.
Is that a CIO job, or can you do that?
I'll have to look into it. Typically anymore with the website and what they've required of us, any code changes that are beyond a basic upload or that type of thing, I've been very cautious. I think that putting a menu item would be very easy. And in honesty, it would also allow us to say join, and then you could put 2 sub under here, one that says Isics and one that says FirstNet. You know, in the future, anything that we wanted to join, we could just put there. And I think that would totally fulfill what you're asking for and hopefully still make it very easy. And we're only spending 3 words, join, Isics, FirstNet. And we can always add more. I like to keep it super simple. We can add, you know, if there's more things for us to join, we can always put it under there, but keeping it simple is what I'm all about. So if that's something you want, I can totally, you know, send a message. I think that may make it through in under 30 days, but based on my experiences, the process tend to, I built that whole site in 2 weeks with testing. So my turnaround time and I don't have to go through as many loops and hoops and.
So if we wanted to put it on tomorrow, where would you or the board suggest you put it until we get the radio button on there?
Well, do we want to do both, or do you want to do just the join at the top? Okay.
Get something on there right away as soon as possible, then work through your process.
The join button on the top, I would hope that it would not take very long at all. I would put through a request as we normally do. We have to submit a request. And then I would also submit an email to Lee Hood, who's been our primary contact,
In all honesty, in real life, this is a 15-minute job. That's how long it would take me to do it in real life, but in state life, it's
30 days
It's a
then?
30-day job. So I just don't want to set the bar too high. I don't want you to think that I know how long it takes me. I don't want to set expectations, as I'll have to go through the politics of making sure it's correct.
Well, in the meantime, as soon as we give him the go-ahead, the outreach will start outreaching with all the information. So, yeah, let me know exactly what you want me to send out.
No problem.
Okay,
Any other questions?
good work, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. The first item up under Section A is a Northern Warren Fire application for Isicsb. Chair Buffington.
The user group committee has received and reviewed the Northern Warren Fire Department's application for access to the Isicsb. And with that, as chair, I will make a motion to approve Northern Warren Fire Department's application for access to Isicsb.
We have a motion on the floor from Chair Buffington for Northern Warren Fire's application. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Ellen. Is there further discussion? I will take a roll call on this. So, Ethan, please.
Jeff Swearingen.
Aye.
Patrick Updike.
Aye.
Jeff Sunholm.
Aye.
Marty Smith.
Aye.
Tom Lampy.
Aye.
John Benson. Bob Von Wolfrat.
Aye.
Denise Pavlik.
Aye.
Andy Buffington.
Aye.
Ellen Hagan.
Aye.
Deb Krebel. Dave Ness.
Aye.
Jason Leonard. Rob Rotter.
Aye.
Mike Casper.
Aye.
Carol Lund Smith.
Aye.
Larry Smith.
Aye.
Linda Frederickson.
Aye.
Kelly Grosskirth. Pass. All in
Okay,
favor?
motion passes.
Yep.
Item number B, NG 911 policy approval. Chair Benson. I'll take a roll call on this, all of these.
So as I mentioned during my prior comments, the governance committee did consider a policy related to support of the I3 standard for next generation 911. The policy language would mirror a similar document that was passed by the, what are they, 911 Council, I believe a couple months ago. So I would make a motion that the policy be put out for public comment in accordance with whatever it says, 30 days a month, whatever the rule is now.
Okay, I have a motion from Chair Benson for the NG 911 policy to be posted. Do I hear a second?
I'll second what John said.
Second, Larry. Do a further discussion, please? Okay, a roll call, please.
Jeff Swearingen.
Aye.
Patrick Updike.
Aye.
Jeff Sunholm.
Aye.
Marty Smith.
Aye.
Tom Lampy.
Aye.
John Benson.
Aye.
Bob Von Wolfrat.
Aye.
Denise Pavlik.
Aye.
Andy Buffington.
Aye.
Ellen Hagan.
Aye.
Deb Krebel. David Ness.
Aye.
Jason Leonard. Rob Rotter. Mike Casper.
Aye.
Carol Lund Smith.
Aye.
Larry Smith,
Aye.
Linda Frederickson,
Aye.
Kelly Grosskirth. Passes.
Okay, motion passes, thank you. Item number C, license of frequencies, low power internet channels, page 4 of the handout, Patrick Updike.
Yes, let me just go through this real quick. On that document, you'll see six frequencies listed. 3 of them are in the 800 megahertz band. 3 of them are in the 700 megahertz band. The 800 megahertz is an analog set of channels. The 700 meg are P25 digital channels. The intent of using these channels is to make it part of the overall programming scheme for the Isicsb system, where they can use these low-power channels in cases where they may not have access to a system site. In other words, it's really a contingency for your contingency. The overall goal of licensing these is to, one, put it under an existing Isicsb license that is out there for the STR trailers. In the event that we wouldn't be able to do that, we would consider formulating or applying for a totally new license where the chair of the board would have his name on that license. In the event that there's a denial from any of our neighboring states through the coordination process, the possibility exists that we would have to come back and review this and pick other channels. The possibility also exists for some expense to license these. And so, knowing all of that, at this time I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and license the channels as listed on this document under an existing Isicsb license with the expense not to exceed $1,000 for the coordination and licensing fees.
Okay, I have a motion on the table for licensing of frequencies as listed under Isicsb not to exceed $1,000. Do I have a second?
Ness, second.
Second by Ness. Roll call, please.
Jeff Swearingen,
Aye.
Patrick Updike,
Aye.
Jeff Sunholm,
Aye.
Marty Smith,
Aye.
Tom Lampy,
Aye.
John Benson,
Aye.
Bob Von Wolfrat,
Aye.
Denise Pavlik,
Aye.
Andy Buffington,
Aye.
Ellen Hagan,
Aye.
Deb Cribble, David Ness,
Aye.
Jason Leonard, Rob Rotter,
Aye.
Mike Casper,
Aye.
Carol Lund Smith,
Aye.
Larry Smith,
Aye.
Linda Frederickson,
Aye.
Kelly Grosskirth. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Item number D under new business, FirstNet Broadband Committee report action. Patrick Updike will also take care of this.
Okay.
Patrick, could you hold on just a second? Robert Van Wolf, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am, Tom.
Would you please give just a brief, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we did meet last week. You're the co-chair of that committee. If you would please, under item number D, give a brief history of what we've been doing the last year on this.
Sure. The broadband subcommittee has spent a ton of time, effort, and energy, and my heart and thanks go out to Rick and the entire team for going through this process of looking at the FirstNet broadband program from a federal perspective, and specifically first responders and what that means for the state. And they've done a formidable job, and people argue that Iowa probably set the first place position in many, many states across the country. So our ability to have great people doing great work and putting in the time and effort to really evaluate whether or not the plan provided by AT&T is actually going to improve our ability to communicate with first responders. And the committee, from just a whole consensus perspective, was all in agreement that yes, it does. And one of the greatest benefits of the way the feds rolled this out is they didn't try and build something that already existed or add on something or duplicate cost or try and put lipstick on something that really didn't change the essence of what it was. And but just from the get-go, one of the biggest concerns from the committee was the coverage perspective of Iowa. As you know, we have tons of coverage challenges around the state. But with the AT&T plan that was presented, the group of committees and analysts of it, it was probably right around 72% from day one. So we can see real benefit in joining FirstNet and providing that capability to our first responders. So from a committee's perspective, we had a unanimous decision and recommended the Isicsb board that this be a go. Just as a side note, it's unfortunate that Rick couldn't be with us today, but there was a medical event, and I just want to let folks know that our hearts and prayers are with Rick and his family, and we hope for a speedy recovery there. But if he were here, he will tell you exactly the same thing. The board and the subcommittee have some of the greatest people working very tirelessly to make sure we do the right thing, and I think the recommendation stands by.
Thank you, Bob. I was at all those committees, and it's been a long road since the FirstNet was initially in the spotlight here for this board. It's a big, big deal. There's a couple big things going on in Iowa, along with radio and now broadband. So thank you, Bob. Okay, Patrick, back to you.
Okay, so with all of that being said and all of the hard work that the FirstNet Broadband Committee has done on this project in their recommendation to opt in, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that the Isicsb board move forward and advance the state of Iowa plan.
I have a motion on the table from Patrick Updike, the chair, to advance opt-in to the FirstNet broadband network in Iowa. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Smith.
Second that, Marty. Roll call, please. Excuse me, discussion? Now, if you would, please.
Jeff Swearingen,
Aye.
Patrick Updike,
Aye.
Jeff Sunholm,
Aye.
Marty Smith,
Aye.
Tom Lampy,
Aye.
John Benson,
Aye.
Bob Von Wolfrat,
Aye.
Denise Pavlik,
Aye.
Andy Buffington,
Aye.
Ellen Hagan,
Aye.
Deb Cribble, David Ness,
Aye.
Jason Leonard, Rob Rotter,
I'm voting aye, and it comes to my attention that perhaps you didn't hear one of my other votes, but I have voted aye on all these so far.
Okay, I'll mark that. Mike Casper,
Aye.
Carol Lund Smith,
Aye.
Larry Smith,
Aye.
Linda Frederickson, Kelly Grosskirth. Passes.
Okay, vote was unanimous. Thank you. Motion passes. I will take this motion and, as the state point of contact for Iowa for FirstNet, advance this to the governor's office for a recommendation for opting into the FirstNet network. Thank you. Now move on to public comment on item number 21. If we could have public comment, if you wish to attend the podium there, we will open this up right now.
Thank you, Chair.
You bet.
Just a quick comment. I know there's been a lot of conversation about the ISSI lately, and you guys are addressing this policy. I would just ask that before you guys vote, if you would review some of the other places in the country that are using this system. There's essentially in Iowa, there's essentially the Isicsb system and the system that we are going on for our operational system, which is a Sarah system. Essentially, that's a Harris system and a Motorola system. Many examples in the country of those working seamlessly every day. And that would be a good use of the system, of the ISSI. Takes big percentage of the population of Iowa that are using that radio system now. So just if you guys would please review before you make a vote in the future, I would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, 11:56, a motion for adjournment. Second. Okay, we're adjourned, thank you.